Uh, my opponent states that prison abolition does not remove stereotypes of color. While this is true, without prisons there would be less racial profiling because there would be nowhere to send the criminals. Since there will no longer be a place for falsely identified people to go to jail, there would be less cases of racial profiling and less cases against police brutality. Next, my opponent explains how the problems within a prison stem from misallocation of resources outside of prison. This is simply not the case. The problem within prisons stem from the conditions the people inside are forced to deal with. When you're placed in a nearly unlivable, disgusting place, it is pretty obvious that crime and other problems will arise. When you take away someone's rights and make them desperate in nearly every sense of the word, they're going to commit crimes and do other disgusting acts. This is why the abolition of prisons is a necessity. Without prisons, there'd be less murder and rape, because people will not be driven to such extreme places. Next, my opponent explains how prison doesn't affect the economy that much because the military expenses are of much higher cost. However, I fail to see how that is relevant to this argument. Although $39 billion isn't $624 billion, $39 billion is still a lot of money. If the economy was able to rid itself of a $39 billion process, it would have much more money to put into social reform and other issues. Also, the military expense is so high because it allows the citizens of America to feel safer because we have such a strong and intelligent military. Also, my opponent feels that if we were to eradicate prisons, that would mean we would go to more war and spend even more money on the military. However, that is also not the case. If we have no prisons, then there would be no prisoners, and other foreign countries would not have to worry about us holding any of their citizens. Also, as I stated in my definition, I believe that all prisons should be eradicated. That is including Guantanamo Bay. So his argument that people would just be sent there or to somewhere similar is irrelevant because Guantanamo Bay, along with all the other prisons, would be abolished. There would be no place for a prisoner to be thrown because all prisons would be fully eradicated and abolished. My opponent also states that the government views people of color as criminals. However, once again, this is not true. Every person arrested gets put to trial no matter what your race is. So the government never assumes you are a criminal because you are put on trial and you are innocent until you're proven guilty. Prison abolition is still the best resolution to all the harms because there are so many problems within prisons that people should not have to live in there. Also, with the abolition of prisons, there would be less violence because police would not look to put people in jail, and we should be able to improve our foreign relations because we will not hold any prisoners of war due to the fact that prisons would be eradicated. Lastly, I would like to make it known that my opponent went over the timeline, so he did not follow the proper guidelines provided to us. Also, while my opponent did cite his work, he used an article from 1995, which is 20 years old and could very easily be very outdated information. Thank you.